hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch a hot topic to you, and then you turn around, create your own content on said topic. Indie author folly. Calling out the business practices, marketing strategies, or public relations that we've observed within the indie scene that have made us cringe. I need to address a couple things that really get under my skin within the indie scene, and both of which are derived from people who lack business acumen. The first one has to do with so-called publishers who aim to take advantage of writers. The indie scene is known for being a place where individuals can express themselves and appreciate art and entertainment that provide contrasts to what they are used to seeing from the mainstream corporate industry. Now, just because the indie scene is known for harboring artistic freedom doesn't mean that artists from the underground want to work for free. It's not uncommon for indie artists to participate in peer-to-peer nonprofit collaborations or donate work to charity projects, but there's a big difference between doing that and being taken advantage of by predatory business models designed to fleece the desperate and the naive. I'm talking about the for-profit business ventures of third-party publishers. Many of these so-called publishing houses operate as a glorified DBA, aka independent label, better known within the scene as a vanity press, which basically just means they represent the author in terms of marketing, but may also handle some of the business activities associated with publishing. However, sometimes these publishers may actually be a small press company that plays a role in the creative process as well. My issue isn't that these publishing houses exist, because there are plenty of indie labels and small press companies within the underground that run respectable businesses. So allow me to offer some perspective. If a publisher expects me as a creative writer to not only trade my time, talent, and expertise, but also lend credence to their project by putting my name on the line, then there's one thing that they need to get straight right out the gate. They need to understand that money talks and bullshit walks. If the publisher's intention with their project is to profit off my work and gain credibility from my name by using it to build their business, then they need to show me that they are not only capable, but willing to provide proper compensation. This is to say, showing their appreciation by putting their money where their mouth is. If the publisher truly believes in their product, then they should have absolutely no problem appreciating all the work that goes into it. This is literally business ethics 101, which is why I have no problem telling someone to go take a hike if they offer less than the industry standard rate. And for those of you who don't know, it is currently at 5 to 6 cents per word. Mind you, that's the entry level rate, which might cover content intended for periodicals like newspapers or magazines, and maybe manuscripts from writers who are less experienced and or lacking any kind of reputation. So to all you indie publishers out there playing make-believe, I'll tell you right now that any creative writer who's worth their salt, which is to say that they take the craft seriously and truly value their work, is highly unlikely to sell themselves short. I'm not saying there aren't any writers within the indie scene that would be okay with that. I mean, there's a sucker born every day. But the phrase, you get what you pay for, comes to mind. You know what I mean? Any writer who knows what they're worth is not going to accept anything less, especially if the editor of the project plans on publishing that work alongside stuff submitted from low-rent hobbyists. My point is, The way in which you lead your business sends a message, and any experienced professional will have no problem connecting the dots and figuring out who's the real deal. The moves that people make not only say something about their principles, but for individuals who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, will be able to decipher the driving force that's motivating an individual's business activity. Sometimes you don't even need a background in business ethics in order to recognize when someone's taking you for a ride, because some people seem to think that using the word transparency adds some inherent value to their business philosophy. I would argue that some people are transparent to a fault in that regard, because sometimes it feels like I'm listening to a villain monologue instead of someone pitching a creative project. I'm just sitting there munching on popcorn as they reveal every detail of their diabolical scheme to profit off the creativity of artists for literally pennies on the dollar. If only more creative writers knew what was good for them, then they would take 2 minutes out of their day and do the bare minimum when it comes to due diligence, aka a quick Google search. Perhaps then they would come to the same conclusion I did a long time ago and realize that some publishers are just out to blatantly and flagrantly rip them off. But maybe some creative writers have no sense of artistic value, let alone business acumen. Which brings me to the second cringeworthy aspect related to this hot topic, and that is self-published authors who do not understand how to set a listing price and properly manage their product. Yes, product management is a thing, even if you are selling as an indie. I've seen quite a few self-published authors over the years make absolute fools out of their supporters by screwing around with the listing price of their books and mismanaging their product. I don't think these authors realize how disrespectful they are being to the individuals who believed in their little passion project and bought a copy of their book at the original asking price. Fast forward a few months or maybe a year down the road, and those same supporters are now discovering that the little-known author that they chose to support with their hard-earned money decided to turn around and rip the fucking rug right out from underneath them by lowering the listing price of their book or giving the damn thing away for free. So much for the secondary market. Whether or not these authors/publishers know that it's disrespectful to their supporters and harmful to the market doesn't matter, because the former suggests that they really don't care and it's just about getting product into as many hands as possible with no regard to diminishing returns. And the former is to admit that they didn't take the time to sit down and think things through, which means they put no effort into preparing a business plan. I can only assume that these authors/publishers are just imitating what they think they know based on what they've observed from big box corporate retail chains. They lower prices to move product, so that means I should lower prices if I feel like moving product. And therein lies the issue. Corporate retailers are divorced from the products that they sell. The products on the shelf hold no sentimental or artistic value to them. Retailers, distributors, and vendors are all in the business of moving product and maintaining inventory. When they need to clear shelf space for new inventory, they will put on a clearance sale. They couldn't care less about the cultural significance or any sentimental values surrounding the products that they put on clearance. So when a customer comes along and buys a product from that specific store running the clearance sale, then they get to buy the product at a discount. A discount based on what, you may ask? Based on the MSRP, aka the manufacturer's suggested retail price, aka the listing price that's recognized among all the retailers who choose to carry the product. That is, until they need to clear some shelf space for whatever reason. maybe the product isn't selling very well in that particular region. If you are a self-published author, understand that in this context, you are primarily playing the role of manufacturer, who just so happens to double as a product manager by default. However, you are not the retailer, distributor, or vendor. That's Amazon's position if you're using KDP for your books. The exception to this would be if you buy stock in your own product in the form of physical copies, and you take it upon yourself to sell those books. In that case, you are putting yourself in a position where you are in charge of storing and handling inventory. But not only that, you are also putting yourself in a position where you are now the merchant responsible for customer service, meaning you are liable for the distribution of the product and dealing with the customers directly, which comes with its own host of challenges and skill sets required to not only keep the ship afloat, but also keep you from losing your mind. But I digress. The purpose of having a business plan, even as an author or artist, is to literally know your role and how to stay in your lane. How many times have you seen someone involved with the indie market say, I have no idea what I'm doing? As if that's supposed to be cute or something to be proud of. Inexperienced people will flounder because they waste so much time throwing shit at the wall just to see what sticks, instead of investing their time in coming up with a coherent plan of action that they can follow through on. These are individuals who have a bad habit of consistently biting off more than they can chew. And then they wonder why it's so difficult for people to take them seriously. I understand it can be difficult to assign a purpose to your creative endeavors, because trying to rationalize something that is deeply expressive, sentimental, or valuable to the soul is easier said than done. It's very difficult to quantify an artistic experience, but I would say that coming up with a business plan for your creative projects has less to do with the end goal than it does with planning your approach. In other words, what can you do that works for you while taking into consideration your comfort level with this or that and the resources that you have access to, but also avoid getting into precarious situations or writing checks your ass can't cash. I suggest that you never make any business related commitments that do not include an exit strategy, because that's exactly how you end up doing things you may not want to do in the long run. But if you quit, then you'll look like an asshole, or at best, unreliable. So these are just some things that to think about before you decide to turn your creative endeavors into business ventures. And feel free to let me know what you think. Go ahead, leave me a comment, weigh in on this hot topic if you think there's something else that needs to be said.